Welcome to the final episode of our investigation into plant consciousness. I'm Justo, and over the past 3 episodes, we've journeyed from the controversial claims of plant telepathy to the cutting edge science revealing the true extent of plant intelligence. Today, we're going to explore what all of this means for the future of humanity and our relationship with the natural world. But first, I need to tell you about a moment that happened last week that perfectly captures the transformation this investigation has brought to my life. I was walking through a local park thinking about how to conclude this series when I stopped in front of an old oak tree. For the first time, I really looked at it not as a piece of landscape or a source of shade, but as a living, intelligent being with its own form of awareness and experience. I thought about everything I'd learned, how this tree was likely connected to dozens of other plants through underground fungal networks, sharing resources and information. How it was constantly sensing changes in light, temperature, humidity, and chemical signals from its neighbors. How it was making complex decisions about where to direct its growth, when to produce leaves, how to defend against threats. Standing there, I realized that this tree had been alive for probably 50 years, processing information, responding to challenges, and adapting to changes long before I was born. It had weathered storms, droughts, and countless other challenges, learning and adapting with each experience. In its own way, it had lived a rich and complex life that I was only beginning to understand. That moment crystallized something profound for me. The plant consciousness revolution isn't just about plants. It's about consciousness itself, about intelligence, about what it means to be alive and aware in this world. And the implications extend far beyond botany into every aspect of how we understand life, intelligence, and our place in the natural world. Over the past 3 months of research, I've come to believe that we're on the verge of a fundamental shift in how humanity relates to the natural world. For too long, we've operated under the assumption that humans are the only truly intelligent beings on Earth, that consciousness is the exclusive domain of animals with complex brains, and that plants are simply passive, unaware resources for us to use as we see fit. But what if that's all wrong? What if intelligence exists in forms we've never recognized? What if consciousness doesn't require a brain? What if the natural world around us is teeming with awareness and intelligence that we've been blind to for centuries? The research we've explored in this series suggests that these possibilities are more than just philosophical speculation. Plants demonstrate learning, memory, communication, decision-making, and problem-solving in ways that challenge our basic assumptions about intelligence and consciousness. But here's what I find most exciting. We're just at the beginning of this revolution. The research I've shared with you represents the tip of the iceberg. Laboratories around the world are making new discoveries about plant capabilities almost daily, and each new finding pushes the boundaries of what we thought possible. For example, recent research has suggested that plants might be capable of mathematical calculations. When foraging roots encounter multiple nutrient patches, they seem to optimize their growth patterns in ways that suggest they're performing complex mathematical operations to maximize resource acquisition. Other studies have indicated that plants might possess something analogous to working memory, the ability to hold and manipulate information temporarily while making decisions. When plants are faced with multiple simultaneous challenges, they appear to prioritize their responses in ways that suggest sophisticated information processing. Perhaps most remarkably, there's emerging evidence that plants might be capable of anticipatory behavior based on learned patterns. Some plants appear to adjust their metabolism and growth patterns in anticipation of regular environmental changes, suggesting they can form predictive models of their environment. These discoveries are revolutionizing not just plant science, but our understanding of intelligence itself. They're forcing us to reconsider some of our most basic assumptions about what makes a being intelligent or conscious. But the implications extend far beyond academic research. If plants are truly intelligent beings with their own forms of awareness, this has profound consequences for how we live our lives and interact with the natural world. Consider agriculture. We currently treat crop plants as simple biological machines, optimizing their growth for maximum yield with little consideration for their potential experiences or preferences. But what if plants have preferences? What if they can experience something analogous to stress or comfort? What if they respond better to certain types of care or interaction? Some pioneering farmers are already exploring these possibilities. They're experimenting with playing music to their crops, talking to their plants, and creating more diverse, interconnected growing systems that allow plants to form natural communication networks. Early results suggest that these approaches might not only improve plant health and yield, but also create more sustainable and resilient agricultural systems. The implications for conservation are equally profound. If plants are intelligent beings with their own forms of awareness, then destroying natural habitats isn't just an environmental tragedy, it's the destruction of complex communities of thinking, feeling organisms. Every forest that's clear-cut, every wetland that's drained, every prairie that's plowed under represents the loss of countless intelligent lives and the networks of relationships between them. This perspective could revolutionize conservation efforts by helping people develop deeper emotional connections to natural environments. It's one thing to argue for protecting forests because they're important for carbon sequestration or biodiversity. It's quite another to argue for protecting them because they're communities of intelligent beings with their own rights to exist and thrive. The plant consciousness revolution also has implications for how we design our cities and living spaces. If plants are intelligent beings that can respond to human presence and interaction, then incorporating them into our built environments becomes not just aesthetically pleasing or environmentally beneficial, but a form of interspecies communication and cooperation. Some architects and urban planners are already exploring these ideas, designing buildings and public spaces that facilitate meaningful interactions between humans and plants. They're creating environments where plants and humans can coexist as partners rather than one simply using the other. But perhaps the most profound implications are philosophical and spiritual. If consciousness exists in forms we've never recognized, if intelligence permeates the natural world in ways we're only beginning to understand, then we need to fundamentally reconsider our place in the web of life. For centuries, Western thought has positioned humans as separate from and superior to nature. We've seen ourselves as the only truly conscious beings in a world of unconscious resources. But the plant consciousness revolution suggests a different vision, a world where consciousness and intelligence exist in countless forms, where every organism contributes its own unique form of awareness to the rich tapestry of life. This vision echoes ancient wisdom traditions that have always recognized the intelligence and awareness of all living beings. Indigenous cultures around the world have long understood plants as conscious entities with their own forms of knowledge and wisdom. The plant consciousness revolution might represent not so much a new discovery as a return to older, deeper ways of understanding our relationship with the natural world. But here's what I find most hopeful about all of this. The plant consciousness revolution comes at a time when humanity desperately needs new ways of relating to the natural world. We're facing unprecedented environmental challenges that require not just new technologies and policies, but new ways of thinking and feeling about our place in the web of life. If we can learn to see plants as intelligent partners rather than passive resources, if we can develop deeper respect and empathy for the natural world, if we can recognize our own intelligence as just one note in a vast symphony of consciousness, then perhaps we can find more sustainable and harmonious ways of living on this planet. This doesn't mean we need to stop using plants for food, medicine, and materials, but it might mean doing so with greater mindfulness, respect, and reciprocity. It might mean developing agricultural and forestry practices that work with plant intelligence rather than against it. It might mean creating cities and communities that support the flourishing of all forms of life. The transformation I've experienced during this investigation has been profound. I can no longer walk through a garden or forest without marveling at the complex intelligence and awareness that surrounds me. I can no longer see plants as simple, passive decorations, but as active participants in the community of life. This shift in perspective has made me more mindful of my impact on the natural world and more committed to finding ways to live in greater harmony with the intelligence that permeates all life. It's also filled me with a sense of wonder and connection that has enriched my daily experience in ways I never expected. But I also want to acknowledge the skeptics and the questions that remain. The research on plant consciousness is still in its early stages, and many of the claims I've discussed remain controversial. The scientific community continues to debate whether plants can truly be considered conscious or intelligent in any meaningful sense. These debates are important and necessary. Science progresses through careful observation, rigorous experimentation, and critical evaluation of evidence. We need to maintain high standards for evidence while remaining open to discoveries that challenge our existing paradigms. What's clear is that plants are far more sophisticated and capable than we previously understood. Whether this constitutes consciousness or intelligence in the same sense we apply these terms to humans and animals remains an open question. But regardless of how we label it, the complexity and sophistication of plant life demands our respect and wonder. As we conclude this series, I want to issue a challenge to everyone watching. For the next week, try to interact with the plants in your life as if they were intelligent beings capable of awareness and response. Talk to your houseplants, observe them carefully, consider their needs and preferences. Walk through natural areas with the assumption that you're surrounded by thinking, feeling organisms. You might find, as I have, that this shift in perspective enriches your experience and deepens your connection to the natural world. You might discover that approaching plants with respect and wonder, regardless of whether they're truly conscious, makes you a more mindful and caring person. The plant consciousness revolution is just beginning. In the coming years, we'll undoubtedly discover even more remarkable capabilities in plants and other organisms we've underestimated. We'll continue to push the boundaries of our understanding of intelligence, consciousness, and life itself. But perhaps the most important discovery we can make is not about plants at all, but about ourselves. As we learn to recognize and respect the intelligence that exists throughout the natural world, we might just discover new ways of being intelligent ourselves. As we develop empathy for all forms of life, we might become more fully alive. As we learn to see ourselves as part of a vast community of conscious beings, we might finally find our true place in the web of life. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. The conversation about plant consciousness is far from over, and I hope you'll continue exploring these questions in your own life and relationships with the natural world. Together, we might just discover a new way of being human in a world teeming with intelligence and awareness.